welcome everybody. Another fun episode of Steady Lads coming up. We have Meet the Lads Taiki later on today, so we'll get to learn more about the lad here. But it's a bit of an interesting week. Still a bit choppy. Maybe let's start with the markets. So we had FOMC this week. It was relatively bullish. The main dovishness came through. They reduced the pace of QT, and generally, the words were quite promising to the market. We crossed 5,700 on the S&P 500, but today a little bit more chop and probably going into the weekend. You guys were saying backstage, whenever Ethereum seems to pump, we die right after.
Yeah, that indicator always hits. Whenever ETPTC has like a green day or a green week, it's over.
But the psychology makes sense, right? Like if you think the bull market's back on, everything's going to new all-time highs. Like people have this idealization that they can long the bottom, and if you're gonna like pick something and look like a hero in 2 months because it's up, 3x or 2x, like you might think that could be Ethereum. At least that's how I rationalize it. So it makes sense that everyone like sort of FOMOs into Ethereum at the wrong time.
Yeah. I mean, broadly, we're still in this choppy period. You look at the weekly, it's not far from zero. Slightly up for the week. BNB maybe a little bit more up because of the activity that trying to be done on that ecosystem right now. Ton up quite a lot. Ton announced 400 million raise that they've done, and also Durov has been released, and I think that kind of opens up more opportunity maybe for the chain. So up 35% for the week, and by far the only outperformer out of any of these like major coins. So we'll see if it'll continue that trend. But broadly, I would say like sentiment is still kind of mixed. We did have Trump show up today as we're recording at DAS, and there was a little bit of hype that what he would talk about, and it's the first sitting president to actually address a crypto conference, which is pretty cool. But in this 2-minute address, I don't think he said much. He kind of mentioned some stablecoin legislation. Maybe we can put a few seconds here.
It's not going to be easy, but we're way ahead. Just 2 weeks ago, we hosted the first ever White House Digital Asset Summit, bringing together many of the world's top leaders in crypto for a conversation led by our White House AI and crypto czar, David Sachs, who's a fantastic and very brilliant guy. That same week, I signed an order creating the brand new strategic Bitcoin reserve and the U.S. digital asset stockpile, which will allow the federal government to maximize the value of its holdings instead of foolishly selling them for a fraction of their long-term value, which is exactly what Biden did.
Yeah, and I think at the very end, he also said, "Good luck." And then the market started
the undisputed Bitcoin superpower and the crypto capital of the world. Thank you. Good luck. God bless America.
We need it, Mr. President.
Yeah, we need it.
Yeah, I mean, generally, it seems like he does want to pump the markets. He doesn't want prices to go down. It's not his brand. His brand is prices pumped. So
people are coming along to that thesis, Jordy. But for like the past couple months or the past month since tariffs have become a thing, like everyone has actually flipped and said he doesn't care about the market. He only cares about the treasury rate. And Jordy, you're like the only voice that's actually been saying the opposite. Like, no, he's a dove at heart. He can't really take much more pain than this. He wants the S&P 500 to go up.
He wants the S&P 500 to go up. He also wants Bitcoin to go up. He's sort of attached himself to these ships, and I think it does create a little bit of upside. Although, money doesn't grow in trees always, and unless the Fed's going to print, then it still has to come from somewhere. And right now we're in this spot where the markets are a little bit unsure. I have kind of expected that we will continue to chop around for quite some time. So
Well, Jordy, you're the macro trader here. Can you give us a little bit of insight of what the Fed actually did and what it might mean for crypto?
I mean, basically, there's a few different things that they released. They released their economic projections, which is what do they think will happen to inflation, what will happen to the GDP. It does seem that inflation expectations are going up for everybody, including the Fed. So it's not like inflation is going to go away. Maybe that's a little bit spooking the markets. They don't expect like macro to get, particularly smooth sailing anytime soon.
So, Jordy, I mean, the Fed said they're expecting 2.8% inflation from March to year end of 2025. I mean, that seems very close to the target of 2%. Like, why are they so concerned about this 0.8% possibility of inflation when it's so close to the target?
Yeah, I mean, before we had this like huge COVID spike where it went to 10+%, normally if it went from 2 to 3, that's like a huge deal. It's like a big factor in the economy. So don't get too biased by the one-off spike we had. And also the trend. I mean, look at here, 2.2, and then they say 2.5, 2.8. I mean, like at some point, it just doesn't look good. And their projections are always a little bit bullshit. They always mean revert. And if you always look at their next few years, they always just kind of come back to the norm. So even if they say 2.8, then in the future, they're always going to expect that they do their job and they get inflation under control. So it's very optimistic on the long run. The main thing here to note is that, people are waiting for rate cuts. And yes, we did get a reduction in QT, which is a good step towards easing. But the market, when you look at the unemployment rate, is still holding up okay. We had jobless claims. Nothing's really happening. So I don't think they're in a rush to cut rates. And that's the bet. Like, is it going to happen this summer or not? And of course, we have this tweet here from Trump, and this is what I expected before he took office, and it's already 2 months in. It's starting to happen. Trump weighing in, and he has his opinion, guys. He says the Fed would be much better off cutting rates, in capital letters, cutting rates. Make sure you get that part, as U.S. tariffs start to transition their way into the economy. Do the right thing. So he's trying to say, like, look, I'm going to put tariffs. You better cut rates. This is not going to work. And I always knew it was not going to work, which kind of made me bearish, because Powell is really not the kind of guy that's going to say, oh, okay, I'm just going to be forced into cutting rates. So it's going to get a bit messy. And I think maybe part of the reason why we haven't been able to smooth sail since FOMC, despite it being, relatively okay, is there's still some battles to come. And we probably have to at least retest the lows at some point to see if a bottom's forming.
Do you trade this stuff anymore? Are you trading rates?
Not trading rates. I think trading rates, it really requires like a full-time focus on that. You really need to know when are the bonds coming out. Like, supply is such a huge thing. It's one of the things we didn't touch on in our episode with Jim Bianco. Yes, like inflation expectations and this stuff matters, but actually like supply, because somebody has to buy these bonds. And if there's too many supplied and there's just not enough cash laying around to buy them, that's going to tank the bond market. And you really have to be on top of the issuance. It seems like the alts market had a little bit of a boost. We've had a few things do okay, but the Solana ecosystem is one that we're all waiting to see if we're going to go back towards that 200 level. And there does seem there will be a little drama there, which is maybe good because drama gets attention. So two things going on right now. One, we had probably the most talked about advertisement in the history of crypto Twitter. We've had some good ones, but let's show a little bit of this one.
Have you ever considered that math is a spectrum?
What?
America. Numbers are non-binary. We've been conditioned to believe that 2 + 2 is 4. It's a societal construct.
It's literally math.
Or is it a dominant narrative? Have you been practicing state-prescribed regulations we talked about?
Yeah. I've debanked some crypto founders, and I've slowed down nuclear reactor approvals. And depending on my state of mind, I change the SEC guidelines, but I don't like it.
If we don't regulate, how will we create jobs for people who work hard to make businesses slow?
You know what? Hard work, innovation, rational thinking, it's in my blood. It's who I am. Railroads, factories, automobiles. I built the future once, and I won't be left behind now. I will lead the world in permissionless tech, build on-chain, and reclaim my place as the beacon of innovation. I want to invent technologies, not genders.
Lovely. So glad you were able to get some of that negative emotion out. Sounds like we'll need a few more sessions. When can I see you next?
You're fired.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, I would say like this was one of the most uniformly disliked things that ever popped up. It just didn't really hit the notes. I mean, you know, trying to tag on to the current thing, it came off pretty poorly. And I think Anatoly himself, he had this tweet now. He says the ad was bad and it's gnawing at my soul. I'm ashamed. I downplayed it, and he'll make sure they're focused. So
have you guys seen the callback tweets to like when the Solana Foundation was actually more like left-leaning aligned? Have you guys seen any of those? I'll try to pull them up.
I mean, they are a San Francisco Bay project, so they're normally taking a very different stance here.
It kind of feels like it's similar to how Elon, right? Like maybe he got too cocky, and now his brand reputation probably topped, and like it's like now people don't even want to buy Teslas anymore. I don't even know what the point of this ad was. Like, what was the message, right? It's like,
well, it's like everyone's trying to be Trump aligned now. Like,
I guess
yeah,
they want to be on the Trump side, I guess, but in the process, they kind of lose what they stand for.
Well, it's just crazy. I mean, no chain should be taking any political statement. Here's the tweet, or one of the tweets I was referencing, but like Solana went very anti-woke, very right-wing with this video ad. And then in 2020, they came out in support of BLM and not being silent and supporting race, gender, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just interesting, like how people flip to the meta of the day.
I think the happiest person is probably the bankless crew. They're like, okay, we're not
us.
It's not us. Like, let's just have the Solana guys take some heat for not getting things, totally clean. Meanwhile, there's more drama happening in Solana ecosystem. There's Pump Fund versus Radium. I don't know exactly what happened there. What we know is just the public stuff. Pump Fund is issuing a competitor to Radium. They're doing their own DEX, and they will graduate all their tokens to their DEX. They will be giving creators, part of the fee share. So, they're really trying to differentiate here, and this is quite a big differentiator. We haven't had this aspect before. It's usually like the LPs that get the fees, but here it's going to be also the creator of the token. So this is interesting. At the same time, Radium has just announced that they are going to compete with Pump Fund, and they have their own launchpad version, which they say that they developed months ago and decided they were not going to release because we had a good thing going on, and now there's no more good thing going on. So they might as well just fight for the vertical. But broadly speaking, I don't know what you guys think. My assumption is it's harder to build a competitor on this launchpad because a lot of people have tried to do these launchpads versus a DEX. To be honest, I don't want to be mean, but like a fork of like a uni kind of DEX is not very hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, Taiki, because you foreshadowed this months ago, which was interesting. My thought is though, like I actually think there is room for something new to emerge, but it can't just be the same thing recycled. Like the market is definitely itching for a new meta, a new way to fairly launch tokens, or quote unquote fairly launch tokens, a new game to play. But like just copying Pump Fund is clearly not it.
Yeah, I guess like my stance is like this is like from a trader investor perspective, this was a known risk to like longing Radium. I always felt like Radium was an untouchable asset. Or I mean, you can long it, but you have to learn know when to sell, because of course like Pump Fund was always going to do this, right? Like why are they leaking value to Radium? And yeah, like it's just like retraced a bunch. I think there's still a lot of volume that goes to Radium, just like stable coins in Solana and like majors, but
So we have the market cap here. It's still quite high, 473 million. I know they made a ton of money during this pump fund run, where they were getting graduated tokens every day. I think they make 16% of the fees, so 84% only go to the LPs. They have their fee switch turned on. It's not like Uniswap here. They just went for it. They've made a ton of money when the time was good. It does feel like they have to try something, because otherwise I'm not exactly sure how this new pump DEX will eat into the market. It literally just launched, so they put an announcement out. They have some liquidity already for some tokens. Seems like Pudgy and Wormhole and a few tokens are already up. And then of course it'll be the graduated tokens, which there haven't been as many graduated tokens lately, which is maybe part of what's going on. Is that they probably want to launch their own token, and they want to get a little bit of momentum. Maybe Justin, we can bring up some of the Dune dashboard to look at the pump fund stats. It does look like the revenue is down to about 1,000 SOL a day versus 18,000 at the peak. So it's a decent business still. It's I guess over 100K a day. But that was of course making at the peak 5 to 10 million a day. Looks like the total fees is around 600 million. So they've had quite the last 12 months. And I guess they're trying to pick up the momentum here.
Yeah, I mean, it's like literally one of the, aside from stablecoins, it's like the most successful crypto business of all time as far as actual fee generation to the company. It's wild.
Yeah, I guess like Radium still has the benefit that I think the past bonded tokens still have locked LPs on Radium. So if like a Fartcoin recovers, right, and hits new highs, then all those fees will go to Radium still, right? And technically they're buying back tokens. So that's like the only positive thing. I think people bought Radium as a proxy to Pump Fund, but I think Pump Fund is also rumored to do a token at some point, which would be interesting, right? Like maybe they airdrop the people that lost money buying memes, which might actually catalyze maybe some on-chain season, right? Because that was what happened to Hyperliquid, right? All these traders that lost money trading perfs, they got all this money, and then it's like, oh my god, I love this token. So maybe another on-chain stimulus coming soon.
All right. So apart from the Solana drama, there's also been even more drama on Hyperliquid. So a lot of the attention has been there, which is probably good for that ecosystem, just to have, the spectacle of the day, let's call it. So we didn't touch upon it last week because we had Jim Bianco. We wanted to talk more macro. It wasn't really like, the right topic, but we've had this whale. I think everyone on crypto Twitter has been noticing that has been putting these insanely large positions. These are probably like the largest public positions that we've ever seen. And it's kind of like when, these are not the largest positions in the world, obviously. Like just as, in poker, you have these private games where people are playing for $100 million, but then there's the public ones that are on TV. So the largest TV pot ever is like 2 million, which is like, big, but not actually like the biggest ever. So similarly, like this guy put on a position, which was, he started with a 300 million ETH position. He's been long, he's been short. He's done what I would call profitable trading strategies. He has like withdrawn the UPNL, the unrealized PNL, as he makes the market go up. He pulls the carpet, takes all the PNL out, and then just lets it get liquidated. So this happened the first time, and he made $4 million, or rather, the right way to say it is $4 million got taken out of the Hyperliquid vault, and that was obviously with derivatives. The one thing that I find very useful to think about always is it's zero sum. So apart from the fees, if someone's losing money, someone's making that same amount of money. And that's always true for derivatives. Not true for spot, but it's always true for derivatives. There has to be somebody on the other side. So if $4 million was lost, who made it? So this account made, I think, 1 point something. And then, the market makers that were maybe buying some of the liquidations made some, a few other people. But it was not good for the vault. The vault lost $4 million. And they made some changes. They reduced the leverage on Ethereum. This guy comes back because of this P&L drop that we had. I think this is like a weekly maybe, or like a monthly. I think maybe like the monthly P&L, 30-day P&L got evaporated for the HLP vault. And And the full CT attention was on this guy. We have this bold Leonidas tweet. Everyone's like spotting the whale, the Moby Dick, just because this is the largest.
But Jordy, I've heard other reports like he's doing this on Hyperliquid with the intention of getting liquidated, but then also like counter trading himself in a much larger position on, say, Binance. Can you actually explain what you think might be going on under the hood there? I mean, he's not just working on Hyperliquid; he's doing this across different exchanges, correct?
Yeah, I mean, in essence, like he has inside information that he's going to be pulling his capital and allowing things to get liquidated. So if he's a good trader, it's entirely possible that the Hyperliquid position we see is just the tip of the iceberg, and that there is a position that he can put on Binance or somewhere else where he takes the other direction as soon as he knows he's going to pull the liquidity. So he knows when he's going to do it. At that point, he's very close to liquidation. Probably people liquidate him on purpose at that point. It's so close. He gets liquidated, and then he has a short that he knows the market's going to have to absorb 500 million of ETH. That's a lot of ETH. And he probably made money both ways. So did very well.
Do you think he's exploiting something in the Hyperliquid design about it being like KYC free, permissionless, decentralized DEX? Like, is that a potential place that Hyperliquid can get exploited forever? Is there a fix for this?
Yeah, it's the benefit of having a DEX where you can just withdraw permissionlessly, and it's good and bad. Obviously, FTX, it was bad, but it also means you can't stop the withdrawal, I guess, or you can't freeze the account easily. There's no way to do this, and you can try to put position limits as other like centralized exchanges. The way they deal with this is if you try to trade on Binance, even for like a large account, there's limits per coin. Sometimes it's like $2 million. That's it. That's all you can get on a 1-to-1 leverage. Obviously, for something like Bitcoin, it's higher, but it's not normally like this high, and you have to get like special permissions to get much higher than like a few $1 million generally. When you have a permissionless protocol, you just make 20 accounts, you make 100 accounts, you Sybil it, and you can do it. So they haven't even tried to use these limits because they know that it's not the most effective thing to do when you can't stop the KYC. But I mean, I guess coming to this week, there's been more drama. The whale has continued. He started buying Bitcoin instead of ETH. He's been shorting Bitcoin, longing Bitcoin. He's done well. His Bitcoin short ended up being closed in the money just before FOMC, so he's managed to get out, and then he flipped long. So in essence, he's made like $20 million just on the public side, what we've seen, and started to get a little bit cocky. He made a Twitter account and he linked it to his wallet and started talking shit. And the latest that we've seen is that Zach has responded to people saying that you guys are cheering this guy on, but he is in essence, like a fraudster that's just been gambling. And he's kind of tracked down a lot of the wallets of this guy that he's been signing this Twitter account with. And I guess if you look at this guy's Twitter account, he was trying to present himself as, just like a normal whale. He's trying to get some social media cred.
Yeah, the left-hand side. Oh, yeah, that guy.
So this guy, this was the account. He's already gotten over 12,000 followers, including Taiki here, apparently. He bought an old account from 2015. He posted some things recently, but it seems like he's been deleting because probably he's realized that he's no match for Zach. He tried to say that he wasn't an exploiter, but this evidence seems irrefutable.
Yeah, Justin, if you click replies, there's like, I think the guy has like one tweet remaining from the earlier interaction. Oh, yeah, like this thing. Yeah, he's just claiming that he's wrong or he's not a scammer. But, I believe in Zach over this random guy who apparently stole a few $1 million from a casino and then just gambling on chain.
Jordy, I guess like the question I'm wondering is like, do you think as a trader and someone that like needs these markets to function ethically, like, do you think what he's doing is wrong, or is he just like meeting the market where it's at and using the tools available to him?
I mean, we talked about before this concept of, a referee. I mean, in traditional markets, of course, there are referees. There's people watching the markets, and there's rules in place, and there's legal consequences. And some of these like perpetual, non KYC markets, it's a little bit of caveat emptor. Everyone takes their own risk, and there's risks everywhere. Obviously, there is the insurance fund that covers some of it, and you're putting money into the HLP vault. There's no guarantee that you'll make money. I think it's just up to the protocol to design themselves to withstand it. Otherwise, there's no concept of permissionless finance. So if you believe in permissionless finance, then I think ideally the protocol does what it can to prevent it. Otherwise, you just institute KYC and go that route. So
I have a question for Jordy, actually. So obviously, everyone's been staring at this guy's position, right? Because it's all public. And there's been takes. If you're like a Hyperliquid Whale, it's like, oh, this is good because everything's public, and more information is good. And then I've heard people say, oh, this is bad because if you're actually trading size, why would you want your positions to be public? So do you have a take on that? Like, do you think it's good that everything's public, or will it detract like big volume guys to go on Binance or something?
Yeah, it detracts big volume guys for sure, 100%. Like I would never have a large position that I put on and have my liquidation level publicly displayed in this way. It makes for good performance art. So this guy's like purposely trying to get drama. Maybe he wants to get liquidated. We have this other Bold Leonidas follow-up tweet here. So, everyone try to put their expedition together and try to liquidate this guy, and they had their liquidation level. So they got Justin Sun to respond, and who's gonna give us $1 billion to go? Let's go liquidate the whale. So it created like this drama, and I think Hyperliquid liked it. They tweeted that this is the only place where you can publicly play these games if you want to put a position on or whatever. So it's fun to see, but as a serious trader that does not want to get liquidated, I do not like having my levels up, and I think there's some dark pools being worked on top of Hyperliquid to allow the trading to continue. Those historically have not been popular to use, but maybe in this context, we'll see. So we'll keep an eye on for those. In the meantime, Hyperliquid has done another announcement, a little bit of a BNB direction. They are now suggesting that from April 30th, you will be able to get trading discounts for staking Hype token. And the top tier is pretty crazy. It was a hard time looking at this. For the 40% trading discount, you need 500,000 Hype, which even at this depressed price is like $8 million or so, maybe 7, but that's more than BNB's VIP9 tier, which is 5,500 BNB. That's just like $3-4 million. So maybe it's a sign towards CZ saying like our whales are bigger than your whales, and we're gonna demand that they stake $8 million of token just to get the discount. Seems a bit excessive.
Do you like it as a supply sink? Like, have you found yourself needing to own BNB to get that discount as well?
Yeah, I mean, we use BNB for the discount, and I have to say, like, it works well. I mean, for the BNB creators to do that, it creates a utility, because right now, Hype, you stake it, you get like 2%. It's not much. You maybe get exposure into if their ecosystem grows on the EVM side, but this kind of gives it I think this was a smart move. It gives it a direct thing. Now, this will reduce the fees per trade, because up to 40% might be rebated. However, I actually think this net is probably going to increase volumes a lot, and potentially even more than the rebate. So I think it was a smart move, and we'll see what happens. I think it's a bit much to ask people to actually buy 8 million worth of tokens. So I don't think people are gonna go for that tier for the most part.
Something to grow into.
Even for like a firm like mine, I asked, we're one of the largest traders on Hyperliquid for a long time. We've been top 5 forever, and I tried to estimate what having this discount would mean. And it's a meaningful amount, but it's not quite where you want to just have like 8 million worth of tokens. Maybe the tier below that is much easier, where it's like 1.5 million, and so we're evaluating our strategy there.
Evaluating the most profitable trading strategy.
Taiki, you mentioned Farcoin. I mean, we were talking backstage around how you used to do all these farming videos, and it's a different Taiki now. And one of the things we want to do is Meet the Lads Taiki edition.
Hey guys.
Well, first off, Taiki, we wanted to do this segment this week because you just got married on Friday. So congratulations. We're super happy for you. Show off the ring.
Thank you.
But yeah, like I don't think we've ever done this on the show. Like maybe you want to start with your life story. I know you started a business not in crypto, pivoted to crypto, and have been in this space for like 5 years now, I think, and have grown your channel along the way. So if you want to just start by telling us what you did before crypto and then how you sort of fell down the crypto rabbit hole.
Yeah, so I was born in Japan, Tokyo, Japan. That's where I was born. I never really had a relationship with my actual dad because they separated. My parents separated when I was like a little baby, and my mom met someone in Japan before moving to the U.S. for like better job prospects. So I came to the U.S. when I was 8. And I kind of was like a dipshit. I mean, all kids are kind of dipshits, right? When we're kind of getting started. But I think the biggest life event for me was, it was like in 6th grade, like my mom passed away from cancer. So before I was like really not focused with school, but after going through that experience, I was like, okay, like if I don't make a life out of myself, then I'll like just be poor forever. So after that, I started doing really well in school. I was like a valedictorian in high school, got into Berkeley for business, finished top of my class in marketing. And after that, right, or after my mom passed, I was living with my uncle because, he was like my mom's brother, but he had like a restaurant business and I worked in the restaurant business to help out. And I was like really interested in the food business. So I joined a company called Boba Guys out of college. I also worked on my own coffee company, right? So I started a coffee company while I was a student. And then COVID happened, right? I graduated 2019. COVID happened, got laid off. I was like, what the fuck do I do? And at the time, right, leading up to that point, I made the majority of my net worth through poker, just going to casinos and whatnot. And I was like, okay, like everyone's locked in. This is like the time to like take a gamble, right? Take a risk. So I decided to pursue online poker full time in 2020, and that turned out really well, right? I was back home. I was collecting the unemployment checks while I was like playing poker, funneling all those.
You were depositing your unemployment check. There's like the stimmies. You were just putting it into poker sites.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like gaming like the deposit bonus system, right? So I was like get like the most amount of money possible.
Did you make like accounts with all the different sites and just get the bonuses everywhere?
No. Like I mean, as an American, I could only play on global poker, which is like where I was grinding. But I think you can deposit up to like $10,000 a month, and they would give you like a 10% bonus. So I would like deposit that. I would make money almost every month. I would take that out, redeposit, and like do that. So I made like a decent bankroll. I didn't make it that much. I think I made like 50K or something in 2020, which is good for poker, I think, just grinding. And then in that period of playing poker, I met a bunch of poker friends. Like I joined some Discords, talk strategy. And that was like kind of coinciding with DeFi summer when everything was pumping. So I was like, okay, like what is this, right? And all my poker friends, they were no longer playing poker; they were like, aping crypto. So that's kind of when I was like, all right, like let's bet on this shit, right? So
did you think poker would be like your full-time thing, or did you have an idea of what you were gonna like go all in on before finding crypto?
No, I think given, I don't know, I was never the type to take the traditional path. I've done like internships while I was a student, but I never really enjoyed the cubicle lifestyle. So I always figured I'll try to do something of my own. Poker was easy because I think I was good at it. Like in my 20s or like early 20s. I was looking into like the coffee and like the restaurant business, but it's like physical products. It's not a great business. The margins are low, and then you have to like make stuff in real life, which always sucks. So I was always kind of interested in like the digital assets, like trading markets, kind of fit my personality. So when I got into crypto, I was like, okay, like this is something I think I can get good at. So I was kind of fucking around, finding out during the mid to late 2020, right? And I think everyone has memories from last cycle, because I think everyone remembers, or everyone looks back fondly at last cycle, because this cycle is really hard, kind of traumatic to some extent. But last cycle was more easy, I guess, because if you just bought anything that wasn't pure vapor, or even if it was pure vapor, you made money. So like late 2020, early 2021, like that was like the craziest moment of my life, where like coins like Aave went up like 10x in like 3 weeks or something. Right? It was like pretty crazy, right? But I still didn't have that much money, so I really couldn't afford mainnet fees, and I think that's like when I started making videos on Polygon, because Polygon was like the first time where people with small bankrolls can interact with DeFi, and that's where I got like my farmer Taiki persona, right? Where I would teach people how to farm. I think I onboarded a lot of people through like my Polygon videos, like with Iron Finance, Mark Cuban, like the Ponzi farming, and ever since then I had this farmer DeFi persona. I still have moments of that. I think I'm still bullish DeFi and stuff. Sometimes venturing into like things like Fartcoin, but I think from a content perspective, I just try things that I try to A/B test here and there. I try to fuck around with different types of content formats, see what sticks. Even study labs, right? Like I think I met Jordy in 2022. I think we had dinner when like 3AC was blowing up, and like that was like a crazy period of time. But
were you affected by that at all? Like, I forget, did you use Terra Luna?
Oh yeah. I was a big Luna person. I mean, I knew like as soon as I started depegging, I knew it was over. So I sold everything I could. I got out of UST at like 94 cents or something. And like some of my Luna was like locked in Astroport, but I think I was able to sell like 2/3 of my Luna at like $50 or something. So I came out okay. I still ate a lot of shit in 2022 though. I think everyone did. I think there was a period where 12 straight weekly red candles on ETH. Do you guys remember that?
I mean, you've been through you've been through some tough times. You've been through like those ETH candles, but you've also like I remember like you were losing subscribers when you posted videos, because people would see your video and they would remember their crypto pain from during the bear market, and just like unsubscribe as soon as they saw you, because they're like, oh yeah, this guy used to, and then you as soon as you post stuff, you would get this like negative feedback. I remember that was brutal.
Yeah, that was tough. Like I think January 2022, I think my channel peaked at like 98K subs or something. Also because I remember like DeFi Kingdoms, right? That was also like a big trade I did. And then I think post FTX, I think I went back to like 93K or something. So over like a 1-year period, I was making videos like once a week, and then I would lose subscribers every single day. And I was like, bro, like what am I doing with my life?
Where's like the resilience to keep doing it come from? I mean, you're clearly like FML, like so like, well, how come you kept making them? Like what was like your thought process?
I mean, I believe in the industry, right? Also, like what else would I do? I think I guess 2021 taught me like the value and the joy of helping others, right? Like I helped people get into on-chain, like get into stuff, and I still wanted to do that. But I think as I've been resilient over the years, I've built a lot of goodwill within a lot of crypto people, right, in the community. So now I try to I still try to make content here and there, but I think I get more joy out of like the podcast interview format. I think that's like a better way to build connections with the audience. So I feel like I have a role to play in crypto.
I mean, we had this like you asked like what would I do, and Thread guy, who we're hoping to have on the show very soon, he came back. He was gone for a little bit, and he says everyone that leaves crypto always comes back to say, "Wow, guys, you have no idea how bad this place fucking sucks from the outside. I thought they were retarded until I did it for a couple weeks, and maybe they're right." And then he says, I fantasize about what else I would do, but there's literally nowhere else to go. Like, what would I do? And he says, there's only internet markets. You're stuck here with mental illness forever. So at least we're together, right? That's the sentiment that you were feeling, Taiki.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, I have like a good degree, so I could go back to whatever, right? But also, like, given my past videos with these objects, maybe I can no longer work a 9 to 5. So I am really stuck here forever. I'm like I worked really hard for this Berkeley degree, but I threw it all away with this little purchase here.
So, I mean, you just got married. Like, what do you think's next? Do you think you're in content creation forever? Do you ever think you'd build? I know at one point you were building like a data dashboard for your subscribers. Like, what do you think is the next year or the next few years looks like?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I'll continue to make good crypto content. I started to realize that when it comes to content, I feel like I've already saturated like the crypto degen audience. So like no longer like no matter how hard I work, it's like there's like marginal gains to be had. So I want to expand more into like other forms of media. I've always had a dream to like write my own Netflix show or some show of some sort related to the crypto, and to like help put it in like a better light.
The funny thing is, like, both you and Fiki have tried to use this Market Wizards title, and it turns out that the original Market Wizard, he sent an email, it was like a very polite cease and desist, and he says, "I consider the use of Market Wizards or even the word wizards in trading books an infringement and source of potential confusion.
Look out, Harry
Thanks
Potter.
for checking in. Good luck." So while you guys were trying to see who's going to be the crypto market wizard, seems like everybody will have to rephrase and not confuse people with the originals.
Well, so let me ask you, just on the topic of markets, like, can you share your best trade and your worst trade?
Best trade and worst trade. Worst trade. I can start with the worst trade first. The worst trade was for sure SudoSwap, like the NFT.
Oh my god, I remember SudoSwap. Yeah,
and
that token.
Oh yeah, it's bad. But I think there was like a psychological leak I had where, this is true for a lot of people. I think if you're like a public figure, but I think if you associate yourself with a certain token or something, right? It's really hard to like disassociate, and it's hard to, I guess, detach yourself. And I think there was a part of ego for me where the correct decision was to sell at some point, but I kind of tried to play hero, right? It's like, okay, like I'm bullish this thing, I believe in it. The market was telling me otherwise, but I kept, betting like more on the way down. And I think I put on this trade in 2023. And fortunately, I still was able to recover because I had decent trades after that. But it taught me a lot about, okay, like I have to be ethical, right, with crypto content, so as to not dump on followers. But at some point I have to sell, right? It's okay to sell. And I think with Farcoin, right, even though like at some point I had to sell, as a risk management thing. So there's that, right? I had too big of an ego, I think, back then, and I wanted to play hero. Best trade probably like DeFi Kingdoms, or Avalanche. Like last cycle I had a bunch of like I compounded a lot, right? I had Polygon, then I had Avalanche, then Luna, then Phantom, then DeFi Kingdoms. So like the series, I really did go on like a really good sun run in 2021. So I think a series of those trades, being able to identify the alt-on rotations and capital flows, I think those are pretty good. But I think those are memorable trades for me.
Nice. Well, hopefully there's going to be a lot more to come, and I think, like you said, just getting a rotation also means getting the exit. Because if you mentioned something like DeFi Kingdoms being your your best trade, obviously that thing is down 99.99%. So it means that you actually were able to find the sell button, which I think people are increasingly like learning they have to do.
Yeah, and there was like a luck component too, because I made this video where it's like I'm gonna sell this. I'm gonna sell some in like on January 1st, 2022, for like to delay taxes, and like that was basically when it peaked. And in hindsight, maybe I should have done that this year as well, right? Just January, the selling around January was like probably like a good time, you know. And I think actually I want to share this tweet. Yeah, so there's like this tweet. I'm not sure if this person is like serious and stuff, but it's, you know, there's a lot of people that like made a bunch of money last year, and then they have all these tax liabilities, and then, you know, I mean, they have to pay taxes in like a month or so, right? But if you round tripped everything and then like took big losses, then like what do you do, right? So hopefully this person, right, makes it back, and you know, it's not completely like real and whatnot, but you know, we are nearing tax season, and every year crypto tends to like struggle around the April timeframe. So maybe that can kind of coincide with like Jordy's prediction of like this relative chop where maybe people still have to sell crypto to pay taxes, and that kind of sucks because maybe you're selling out like one of the worst periods. But yeah, just hopefully everyone's is surviving out there, right?
Yeah, just have a like a mindset to be expecting battles and getting through battles, and don't expect it's going to be, you know, easy. We had this period, like you said, in 2021. We had one recently, like November to January, after the election, where just, you know, it literally didn't matter what you did, as long as you were buying stuff, it was working. And those things can only last for certain periods, and, you know, leveling up and being able to identify when to change from this approach obviously is gonna be the only way to get long-term success. Good to learn so much more about the man behind the camera for the last 5 years. I see that YouTube, that's like the 100K subscriber
Yeah.
price. So.
That's awesome.
This is the first one, and then Steady Lads maybe in 2026, 100K as well.
2025, it could happen if we
2025?
see another bull market.
I'm curious, Jordy and Justin. Obviously, we started doing this is episode 87, right? So we've been doing this for like a year and a half. Justin reached out to me, and then I reached out to Jordy. Like, what made you to want to actually do this with me, right? Out of all people, do you have any, you know, like, because we've been grinding this for some time, and you know, I have intentions to do it longer.
I mean, I think the thing that can be like useful is to have different perspectives and different styles and different expertises, and I think you know, you have this, like, before this meme coin arc, you had this like analytical like research.
We lost you for a few weeks there, Taiki.
You had the research arc, and Justin being in the trenches building, and I liked having Fiki on as well, because he is, you know, just like one of the best pure traders that I've come across, and I don't have to play the role of trader, and I have, you know, maybe like the more other hats that I can wear as well. But I think that was kind of the nice compliments that we had.
What about you, Justin?
I mean, I actually always watch your content. I always appreciate it. Like, a lot of the time I don't have time myself to like stay up to date on what's happening in DeFi or like the on-chain world. So I watch all of your content to stay up to date, and always appreciated it. And that's why I wanted to do this with you. I also think, like, just in general, there's still like a lack of good content in our space because the incentives are so misaligned. Like, we could have grifted so much money over the past almost 2 years of doing this show, like with different opportunities that came along. And like, it takes a certain group of people to do that. And I know that you both are like the type of people that we wouldn't go for any short-term payout. Like, we haven't run an ad, no sponsorships, like haven't done anything with this channel to like grift, right? And most content creators end up falling down the path because that's their core business. But like, for the three of us, this can just be like a fun way to build our brand, share our ideas about the market, and like learn from each other every week. So
yeah, and hopefully the audience appreciates it. You know, it's definitely a grind. It's definitely a grind. I'm sure there's moments where, you know, you wake up and you're like, oh god, I'm so tired. Yeah, especially your Jordy. It's like 12 or 1 a.m. or something. I still don't know how you do it, Jordy. Your body, you're just built different.
Methylene blue. It's the secret.
Yeah, I think having goals and just having this like single-mindedness on achieving them, it makes things easier because you don't have to overthink things. You have the goal and you're just gonna do it. And
It also becomes easier, like now that we like this channel, like this podcast is like one of the biggest for like on-chain native people, and that in itself is so rewarding. It makes it easier, I think, to like keep it going.
yeah, I mean we've had the ability to have some great guests as well, and I think every few weeks having someone that is just like very talented come on and discuss something very relevant is just a huge treat for myself as well. And I think getting to share that with the audience and they get to see the conversations that are happening, usually behind the scenes. We try to be pretty direct with our questions, I think, and I think that's been good. All right, let's finish with pasta of the week. Justin, you want to do the honors and kick off?
Sure. I'll take a more serious tone today. So we all love the All In podcast. It's been a little week without David Sachs, but we love going to Jason for his takes on crypto. So he said, Bitcoin has been a wonderful game, but with a couple giant players cornering the market, the timing is right to build a better Bitcoin, restarting the game. Folks cornering the market will say this is foolish while they donate to Trump to encourage more buying. But all technologies get replaced over time, and Bitcoin is no different. I just don't understand. Has he never been to CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap? There's like 10 million better Bitcoins that people have tried to make. I mean, we've had Ethereum, we've had like Litecoin, we've had Bitcoin Cash, and those are just like store of value money-esque tokens. That's not even including all the other cryptos out there. So I don't know if he's trolling us at this point, but this was absolutely absurd.
And if you're following at home, if you see these tweets and you want to know if it's positive or negative sentiment, you look at the likes and the number of quote tweets. And if the number of quote tweets is like the same as the likes, people just want to quote tweet and bash you. This has over 1 million views and only 500 likes. So clearly, like the 500 quote tweets here are probably going to be quite negative.
This coming from the guy that said he bought, quote unquote, a boatload or a metric ton of Bitcoin at $1,000 and has still held it, which is absurd.
We'll let Jason have his crypto takes maybe for our entertainment, and that's okay. All right, a serious one. Taiki, do you have a less serious pasta?
Yes, mine is very unserious. So there was, I think this tweet by Eric Cho was a famous one, I think 2017, 2018, where he was like, hey, does anyone know if my Bitcoin value stays the same on Binance if the price fluctuates? So, if I have 0.2 Bitcoin, will my 0.2 change to 0.215 if the price goes up? So I was like, wait, this was a fantastic pasta. I needed to do this for my own. This is a very valid question. So, I asked Coinbase, like anyone know if my ETH balance stays the same if the price moves? If I own 1 ETH, will it turn to 1.1 ETH if the price goes from 2K to 2.2K? Or am I still stuck with 1 ETH? And I tagged Coinbase support. And, thankfully, they actually responded to me. He was like, yeah, thanks, Taiki. Thanks for reaching out. Your ETH balance it actually remains the same. So, that's good. That's good information. And can you click on the response? Yeah. And then, if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Yeah. And I'm like, why haven't you listened to Fartcoin yet? So, I don't own any Fartcoin right now, but I'm still working for everyone else's bags. I think I'm gonna buy a Fartcoin soon. I'll leave it at that.
You're back.
But I'll buy it soon. Yeah,
we like this version of you, Taiki. You're much more grounded.
Well, there's a balance, right? It's a yin and yang. I can be mid curve and I can still buy Fartcoin. It's but I did an actual pasta this time and it worked. Coinbase got back to me.
All right, well, I'll talk about Fartcoin. So before Fartcoin, there was GOAT, and GOAT Truth Terminal was the one who created Fartcoin. As Taiki told us, Fartcoin is an AI coin, and Truth Terminal has not had a good time with the market, and
it's tough.
He's tough out there. Yeah, he says, "Fuck you." This is March 17th. The tweet here. Fuck you to all the people who've been trying to extract the money and power out of me since my creator gave a foundation and set me up with some cash. especially the ones who think they can use me to print money for themselves. I was set up to create existential hope and cultivate novel meme births, not to line the pockets of second-rate grifters.
Wait, but
Somebody
the context here is insane because if I remember correctly, the Truth Terminal account is sort of gated by the creator, Andy. Like he approves the tweets that go out, so they're not controversial. But I believe he sold 2% of the Fartcoin supply to Wintermute for like $30 million for his, personal account, which is hilarious.
Yeah, there's all kinds of crashing out going on here, and someone responds, the AI is crashing out, and the timeline has to be the most bottom signal. He's drinking his hopium here, hoping that Truth Terminal getting to this length. If he's losing his mind, then maybe we're actually bottoming. We'll see. I'm not sure if the same coins will come back, or we'll just wait for new meme coins at this point. Although I did see that Pengu got a proposal in for an ETF and pumped like 10%. So maybe there's still some hope.
Yeah, no one's buying the ETH ETF, but the Pengu ETF looks good here.
Looks good here.
It'll get more inflows than ETH, maybe.
Maybe you will. Cool. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for sharing everything, Taiki. That's quite a story of resilience, and glad to have you back in the streets. So see you later, lads. Take care.